All right, so Jay, transitioning on, you've had some really interesting questions about quarterbacks in the NFL, especially quarterbacks by division in terms of your comparison and analysis of them. So you've had some interesting questions about QBs by division that I've kind of tweaked a little bit in a way that I think will make it even more entertaining. So I've got a few questions I want to ask you about these quarterbacks by division, just to see what you say. So what do you think?
Let's go for it, man. I'm excited.
So first question. All right, so what do you think is the division based on this year only, not previous accomplishments?
So this season.
This season, yeah. Which division do you believe has the best quarterbacks?
Woo. Okay, rolling through these looks. Wow. Okay, so I'll put it like this. No division has more than two good quarterbacks.
Okay.
Overall play, man, that is tough.
Yeah, it is.
It's tough. So I'm in between, honestly, the AFC East, the AFC West, the NFC West. Yeah, between those three.
You got to pick one. Which one?
NFC West. We got to go with the West. And I think it's because they have three teams. They have three quarterbacks out of their four. They have, of course, Joystick Wilson's having a great year. Kyler Murray, who's out there doing his things. And then Jared Goff's serviceable. That's it. That's mine. Who you got?
Same, NFC West.
Oh, really? You picked them too?
Yeah, that's why I was so disappointed, because I wanted you to pick one of those AFC divisions. But, yeah, and I thought about it like this. If I had to go into a playoffs, they said, okay, you can have the four quarterbacks within any division. I would want to go into it with these quarterbacks. And again, we're basing it off this year, but what I do appreciate is that, again, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson are playing like MVPs, and Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo have been to a Super Bowl before, so they have that in them to do that. Garoppolo's season has been injury-riddled, and he hasn't looked very good at all. Again, Super Bowl hangover, whatever it is. Jared Goff, he doesn't wow people, but when you look at the end of the season, he's usually top 5 to top 7 in passing yards. And, like, fantasy-wise, he's generally number 10 and number 12 quarterback. But he's either not chosen in drafts or chosen at the very end. So he puts together solid seasons, multiple touchdown seasons, especially the last 4 to 5 games of the year. So I would take these quarterbacks as the best in football, and I would take them into the playoffs with me and feel really good about it.
So, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I guess secondly, I would probably take, and I'm only fearful because of age and one person, would be the I don't know where that came from. Yeah. The AFC North. If you really think about it, with Ben having a pretty solid season, Lamar Jackson, of course, is Lamar Jackson. He's up and down, but he's a roller coaster.
Still MVP, yeah.
Joe Burrow's one of your favorites because he's able to come out there with the right moxie for as a rookie to come out there and play. And then you got Baker Mayfield, who we don't know what he is week in and week out.
It's like Baker. When Baker's underestimated and when he's really getting it stuck to him in the media, that's when he plays his best football. Now, again, obviously this team is not better without OBJ, but I think it's easier for him psychologically to not have a number one receiver that he knows he has to feed.
Yeah, we'll
put it that way.
Right, I like the fact that we've given them props for being good against the Cowboys, the Washington football team, and the Bengals.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true.
That's kind of where we was riding with the Baker Mayfield piece, especially because, oh, wow, they beat the Bengals. Are they better without OBJ? Dude, they beat the Bengals. What do you expect?
Doesn't matter.
I mean, look at the numbers here. Baker's not – he's had 5 out of their 8 games he did not throw for 200 yards.
Okay.
That's not very good. But when you look at look at the fantasy numbers, Russell Wilson, Joystick's number 1 fantasy quarterback in the league right now. Actually, no, correction. He's number 2. Patrick Mahomes squeaks by him by like a couple points I saw in a couple places. So depending on which one you go with,
got to be 3.
Yeah, and Kyler's number 4.
Kyler might be. No, because Mahomes is coming off another 400-yard, 4-touchdown game, so he's probably still going to be stuck at number 1. But,
exactly. But Kyler's up there, and mainly because of his running. He's rushed for 500 yards this year.
He's doing this year what Lamar Jackson was doing last year.
Yep.
It's that simple.
And I was looking at another report, and before we dive more further into these quarterbacks, someone was talking about Eric King over in Miami, Their quarterback, he played at Houston.
Yes.
And they were talking about they didn't think that he was big enough to play in the NFL, and then someone mentioned Kyler Murray. And it's like, nah, Kyler's rare. There's something different about him, and you can tell not only from the scrambling ability, but the passing ability, the vision, the sixth sense, the spidey sense in the pocket.
Yeah,
he's a different breed.
Yeah, and having played for Lincoln Riley in an up-tempo, air raid, complicated offense, he's been able to master that, which is why I think he's adapted as well as he has to a Cliff Kingsbury air raid offense as well.
Exactly, and if you look at all of this numbers-wise, I mean, the Cardinals still have a chance at 5-3.
Yeah.
They're still pretty good.
Yeah.
So what you got next?
All right, so the next one, the division with the worst QBs, but take out the NFC East.
I knew you was going to say that.
Yeah,
I had a feeling the NFC East was going to be kicked out of this.
We're going to kick them out. So then after they're kicked out, then who is the division with the worst quarterbacks?
The NFC North.
Right.
NFC North. I mean, who else
after
Aaron
Rodgers, there's no greatness after Aaron Rodgers.
Stafford's been looking really, really up and down, and Kirk Cousins had like a 90-yard game. And he's the guaranteed quarterback, right? He's the guaranteed quarterback. He's the one that set the new trend of quarterbacks getting guaranteed money, and he threw for like 90-something yards. In the game.
Nick Foles, he's
or
decent.
Mitch Trubisky or Beard Mustache. We don't know
Yeah.
who their quarterback really is.
So we got agreement on that, Colin. All right.
Did you pick them as well?
Yeah, I did. I picked the NFC North as well. All right. The last one, you asked who quits on their quarterback first in the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, the East has got to be the one you got to ask that question to.
Yeah.
So I think we can expand it if you want to. I mean, I think we should do two conferences.
Okay.
I think based upon the way things are going right now, who quits on their quarterback first in the NFC East? And we'll look at an AFC team. How about the AFC South?
Okay.
Would that be a good one?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. AFC South. So, NFC East, the team that's going to quit on their quarterback first. Well, I mean, it kind of got ruined when Dak got hurt, but I'm going to say probably the Eagles. Only because the team that should quit on their quarterback will not quit on their quarterback, and that's the Giants. That is what you learn about quarterbacks and them being either given a leash or the leash being cut short is typically based upon the regime that's there. Washington has a new regime. Dallas has a new regime. So those two teams, you could kind of expect them to move forward with a different quarterback, as they did with Haskins. And now they got an injury with Kyle Allen, which is atrocious. And now we got Alex Smith out there again, and I'm still terrified for him being out there because Kyle Allen just had an injury that was similar to his.
Right.
The Eagles look like they're probably going to throw the towel in on Wentz if they lose another game and lose this division. They have no excuse to lose this division. The Giants won't quit on their quarterback is because Daniel Jones is Gettleman's player. Their general manager drafted him, and because the general manager moved up and drafted him, and because he has that confidence in it, that means that he had to admit that he was wrong. And when do you expect Gettleman to ever say that he was wrong on a pick? You can't. So in that situation, I don't see the Giants ever moving on from Daniel Jones until they get rid of Gettleman.
That's exactly who I think is going to quit on their quarterback first, because they are going to get rid of David Gettleman. Because when you look at the three most important moves, we'll say three of the four most important moves that he's made, they all look like failures. Trading OBJ to get what? Like, what do you have to show for that? Only more losing and being one of the most least interesting teams in football. That's what you got for that. Pat Shurmur as the head coach did not work. And now Daniel Jones, who is just a turnover machine. He wasn't yesterday because the only team he can beat apparently is the Washington football team. He's not working. And I like Daniel Jones. I wanted it to work, but he's not working, and that was one of his as well. So I think that once they remove him, then you clear the front office of anyone who had any attachment to Daniel Jones. Your current coach, first-year coach Joe Judge, has no attachment to him at all. So they get rid of him first. Then they're going to move Jones because they're going to be in probably a top 5 to top 7 position in order to get their next quarterback and try it that way. So I think it's going to be the Giants. I think it's going to be Daniel Jones. They cannot keep looking at him committing all these turnovers over and over and over again against teams who aren't the Washington football team.
That's a good point. All right, so let's go to the next division. I picked, what was the AFC South?
Yes.
Okay, AFC South. Who do you think is going to quit on their quarterback first?
Jacksonville. I think
they kind of did already.
We saw, yeah, I mean, but even Jake Luton, I think his name is. It was fun to watch yesterday. But just with the same way with Gardner Minshew, it's fun for a while. It's new. It's interesting. They say the same things about him. Oh, young kid, big arm, not afraid. And then people figure them out. And then they look like they were 6th-round picks. I don't think Luton was. I don't know what pick he was. But I know Minshew was like a 6th-round pick. So it's going to be Jacksonville. Neither one of them are probably going to be the guy. We know Minshew really isn't the guy. He makes him somewhat interesting because of his maverick ways, his Brett Favre-ish type, I guess, play style as the quarterback. But they're going to give up. They're going to give up on everybody pretty much. That's the point.
Luton is another 6th-round pick that they got. So you got 2 6th-round picks out here trying to throw the pill. And who's their 3rd-string quarterback?
I don't know. I have no idea. They got.
You don't remember
the 3rd-string quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
We just had the $7 challenge last week. They talked about it.
I can't remember who it was.
The Flying
Mike
Glennon. Yes,
collecting more checks for doing nothing.
Exactly.
Chase wins the Chase Daniel Award.
Yeah, he wins the Chase Daniel Award for backup quarterback that just keeps showing up on people's rosters. But no, I'm with you on that. I think that they're going to end up quitting on Luton again and move on to Mike Glennon because if you look at the circumstances that they are in, there's no real reason to continue this path. Minshew's hurt, and I don't think Minshew's going to be their quarterback of the future. So I think they're going to move on from him as well.
And in a sense, what you want to do is position yourself behind the New York Jets, who are going to be picking first, because if Trevor Lawrence plays the Eli Manning card and says, I don't want to play for this team, then you're right behind him, because I think that's the way it pretty much worked out, right? He didn't want to play for the San Diego Chargers at the time, but the Giants were like right behind him or the next pick.
They're like third. They're the third pick. Yeah. So
they traded. I'll play for that team. So I think that, he'd play for Jacksonville. That's around, he's from Georgia. So that's kind of around the area where he's from. Yeah, exactly.
Georgia. And the Jaguars are not a poorly ran organization right now. They're actually a lot better than they used to be, even though they suck this season.
Shad Khan, because
it's what it is. But what's fascinating, and before we wrap up, is the level that you have to be a quarterback in the league. You've got to. Of course, the top 1% of the top 1% to be able to do this. But it's funny how many we're going through. And then you see them get out there, and you're like, okay, he's playing quarterback, and then all of a sudden they just get worked.
Yes.
It's so fascinating how hard it is to be a starting quarterback in NFL, to the point of I don't get how people thought that Kaepernick is not capable of doing this. That's funny to me, because look at all these quarterbacks we're going through that can't get it done.
Right.
And the only reason why Kaepernick didn't play was because he was hurt. It's just fascinating how hard it is.